Food insecurity is when families aren't always sure if they're going to have enough money every month to have good, healthy food in the household for everybody.
Food presents us both some of the greatest opportunities and some of our greatest challenges, whether we think about income inequality or whether we think about the crisis we have in diet-related illness.
Between 20 to 22,000 people in the Grand Traverse region are considered food insecure.
So we're saying that they're okay, they don't need any state or federal help, that they should provide for themselves, but yet over half the people say they can't put enough food on the table or can't put the right foods on the table.
When we think about issues of food, the first thing we need to do is think beyond our plate. We need to stop thinking about food in silos of problems and start realizing that this is a system that affects us all, and there are no systems of one.
I graduated from high school in 2003, and my little buddy was right beside me. We lived with my mom for a while after that, but she got really sick. And in 2004, we were evicted from our house. It was just kind of really rough and bumpy after that. At the time, I guess I didn't really realize that we were hungry. You don't really realize that when you're in that situation.
I would go over to friends' houses and they would have like fruit snacks or something like that. And I'd be so jealous because I wouldn't be able to have fruit snack or granola bar at our house after school because we didn't have enough food for that.
In many cases in food insecure homes, I think you will see children who are hungry or are not getting as nutritious food as many families would like their children to have.
And if we're not feeding them correctly, they're not going to learn in school, they're not going to develop properly.
And we know that a child who doesn't receive proper nutrition before the age of 11 has irreparable brain damage.
In other cases, those children may not realize that their own parents are going without because the parents are making sure that at least the kids are getting something in their bellies, but the parents may be food insecure.
What do you remember about dinners at home?
You not being able to eat dinner at home because we didn't have enough food.
It was really cheap to make a big, huge pot of spaghetti or a huge thing of sloppy Joe mix, and then we would eat that for dinner for as many nights as I could make it stretch. There were quite a few nights where it would get towards the end of the week and I really wasn't sure if there was going to be enough left for the next night for him to eat. You know, I'm looking in there and I'm going, okay, there's 2 portions left and I could eat and he could eat tonight, or he could eat tonight and I can save this for tomorrow in case we don't have anything tomorrow night. And so I wouldn't eat.
People conjure an image in their mind when they hear hunger. Food insecurity is more, you might not know where your next meal is coming from, or you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You're not going to perform as well in the workplace or in school.
I was sick a lot. There were a lot of days that I ended up missing work that was really, really vital because I was just too sick.
It's a domino effect. Everything leads to something else, and we need to start by feeding our bodies properly so that we can develop properly, so that we can do what we need to do to become successful and engaged in our community.
It's that basic level of need. How can we hope to have people aspire for jobs in this community and to contribute to our local economy if they don't know where they're going to eat next?
Poverty affects all people, all races, all nationalities. In the 10-county Northwest Michigan region, 13.89% of families are living below the poverty threshold, a line drawn at an income level that is actually really quite difficult to live at. There's question about how that line is derived and whether it truly takes into calculation all of the modern day expenses.
What I find are the telling numbers in our region is that what we have are a lot of working poor families.
We are the Wack family, and we have 3 children, 1 in college and 2 that are homeschooled. We are a low-income family and have been for all of our marriage. We work several jobs. We always have something in the air, something to fall back on. Trying to find a good job in a place like Northport is tough.
In northern Michigan, we have unique geography. Where people live is scattered all over the place.
In Grand Traverse region, the job market is much better than it is kind of out county.
And given our tourist economy, land prices and home prices in some of our urban areas are really sky high.
Worked with a family yesterday. I do emergency meals. They pulled in a family of 4. I was just talking to him a little bit, and it turns out that the guy is working a full-time job. He's making $1,600 a month. They're living out of their car. They're living out of their car because he can't afford a house. Out county, out towards Grawn or Interlochen or Kalkaska Way or Mansalona, I mean, there's housing available out there, but then the transportation cost of getting from there to Traverse for the job, it becomes a barrier for folks.
And if you figure that if someone's living in poverty, their transportation options are fairly limited because it costs quite a bit to maintain a vehicle and keep it going.
We've had several hard spots where, either being in job changes or waiting to find a new job or being in school full-time, because at one point we were both in school full-time.
We don't normally buy each other presents for holidays and stuff. And if we do, it's probably something practical.
If you take a look at families who are working, 2 jobs in the service sector or the tourism sector, they're just making ends meet, and they may or may not have health benefits.
It just takes, for a parent, a child being sick.
One of the reasons that I'm not in nursing right now is because I didn't have the flexibility when my daughter got sick. It was a year of being ready to go to the doctor, being ready to go to the hospital, being ready to go to infusions, and things like that. And if I did have that full-time, which I did have that full-time nursing job, I had to leave it so that I could care for her. And he had to pick up the slack, which then you end up getting behind, and then you have to catch up, and you have to figure out how you're going to make those things work.
Well, most of our folks are service sector workers. They don't get sick days. So if they miss 2 days to stay home with a child, that's 2 days of pay they don't get. They're already living paycheck to paycheck. So now they're 2 days short. Something's got to go. And food is often the first thing.
There have been multiple times that we have been short with food or healthy choice food, or just difficulties with what we could feed our family. We have one child who is lactose intolerant, and we have another child who's allergic to 5 really big basic foods like chicken and rice and peppers. And if you're not part of like a program like food stamps or something like that, just to have healthy meals or the abundance of food that are healthy, we would get into a lot of quick on-the-go food, freezer food, and those kinds of things.
The pressures of our broken food system don't hit us all equally. We know that if you live in a low-income community, which too often is also a community of color, you simply do not have the access to make the healthy choices of the right food to keep yourself and your family healthy.
Some of it is cost. Fresh fruits and vegetables are far more expensive than packaged.
And when you only have $200 a month in food stamps, you have to make it go as far as you can make it go, and that means high salt and high sodium, and that's just the way it was.
What's your least favorite food?
Sloppy Joes,
Why?
because we ate them all the time.
So cheap to make.
One story I heard from a dietitian who's at Munson Medical Center, and she was talking about doing counseling with a family. And the daughter had diabetes, and when she was sort of talking with the family about what they ate, sometimes what they were eating was hamburger helper, and sometimes it was without the hamburger. So it was just really high refined starch foods, which is enough to take the hunger pangs out, but it's not the kind of nutrition anybody should have on a daily basis.
The additives, the bleaches and stuff that creates a shelf-stable product is more and more causing issues with our overall community health.
We know how important it is to boost the amount of fruits and vegetables that low-income families and vulnerable kids consume here in Michigan. The very same families that don't have good access to healthy and fresh fruits and vegetables are the very same families that disproportionately suffer from diet-related illness like diabetes and hypertension and heart disease.
In the past, 4 out of 5 doctors prescribed cigarettes. And now we look back at that thing like, what were you thinking? How foolish would you have been? I believe that my kids and my grandkids are going to look back at our generation and say, you were putting that in your food system? You were putting that in your food supply and you thought that was good? What were you guys thinking?
Right here in Michigan, we know that obesity is hitting us very hard. 1 in every 8 kids and 1 in every 3 adults is obese.
You turn on the TV in the middle of the night and you get the PSAs from the village in Africa, and you can see hunger. It's the emaciated bodies, it's the distended bellies, and you can visually see like that child is starving. In this country, hunger looks different. Hunger is more hidden. When you see somebody coming in the street who is overweight, the last thing probably you're thinking is, there's an individual that's hungry. But the food that they have access to is contributing to that outcome. But they're not insurmountable. I believe that while it's a national or global problem, it demands a local solution.
It's really important for the health of our kids' future and for the future of our state's economy that we boost the amount of fruits and vegetables we consume, and it's also good for all of the specialty crop producers in the state.
We've got some of the most diverse crop production of anywhere in the state of Michigan. Michigan's second only to California in the diversity of crops that we put out. Last year was working with a young woman who had never tried a blueberry before. Second largest blueberry producer in the country is Michigan. Our region produced some of the most in the state. 14 years old, lived here her entire life, has never had a blueberry. What the hell's wrong with us?
Improving access for people living in poverty to healthy foods, especially fresh local foods, not only supports the community in the sense of people in poverty, but it also grows the economy in that industry and allows for more jobs.
So this isn't about just giving any food to families in need, it's about giving the best food to families in need. We've got farms here and the ability to produce on a much larger scale than most anywhere else in the country. So we can feed people great food while providing opportunity for local growers.
There's no question about whether we should support hungry families or farmers. We can do both at the same time.
And it's about relationships. It really is. It's about relationships with people in need. It's about relationships with area employers. And through those relationships, we can drive change.
And there's ways that people can help. There's so many ways that people can help.
Get involved in helping to stock your local food pantry. Get involved in helping with the food distribution so you can meet the people and really hear the stories for yourself and see that these are your next door neighbors.
We really would love to see a community center in our community where people bring each other out, teach each other how to can food, or everybody come together and can food, from your garden, from this person's garden, and do sharing. Just ideas that can help each other out. A lot of people don't like to go into Department of Human Services and ask for help, but they'd be more inclined to show that they can offer something too in return for getting help. We're not people that like to ask for things.
More and more people are becoming educated on what food does to our bodies and why it's important. Folks are realizing that what we feed people matters, which is a novel concept, right?
People think of food insecurity as a problem to be solved. Actually, I view it as a symptom of a broken food system that's really out of control. What we really need to do is redesign this system so that everybody has access to the healthy food they need to lead a healthy life.
It's not a silver bullet approach. It really isn't. There's not one thing that's going to fix this for us, and there's not one thing that's going to fix this for any community. But I believe all together, if we're unified in our approach and we're connected in this march, then together it won't be a silver bullet, but certainly, silver buckshot or something.
Certainly public policy change is important. Thinking about the food system as a system and not as individual problems is key. And we need to really expand the network of good food champions who are understanding the issues, the problems, and can go to work to take action to create and design a food system that works for all of us.